Thank you for joining us. Today is just Tasha live. So thank you for joining me today. Unfortunately, Sara has to send her regrets. We have a little something going on at one of our clinics that she's just attending to this morning. But don't worry, I have plenty of energy for this topic today. It is one of my favorites to talk about. So for those of you who don't know me, I am Tasha McCrae. I am our VP of Brand and Culture here at Live Well Exercise Clinic. And Sara and I host the weekly Live Well Lives in order to just share our passion about exercise and lifestyle change to help you lead a healthier, happier life. So today, I see a face there. Hi, Barry. Good to see you.
Hi, Tasha.
Hello. Barry, I'll just get you to mute yourself for this one part. And at the end, we can unmute ourselves and answer lots of questions, but just so we get a nice clear recording for everyone who couldn't make it live. So today we're talking about rewarding yourself, and we're talking about it all week in the clinic. And I just love this discussion because rewards are such an important part of motivation. So first off, I'm going to ask you, are you rewarding yourself regularly? And I think for most of us, the answer is not usually, right? And so today I wanted to talk about why you should be rewarding yourself, why it's so important for your long-term motivation, and give you some, what I like to call the rules of reward. So there are a couple of guidelines that you can follow to get the most out of rewarding yourself. So let's get started. So first, why reward yourself? And I think this is so important. You know, change is hard, and sticking with an exercise program, you know, is exercise always when you wake up in the morning, you jump out of bed and go, yeah, exercise. I'm so excited I get to do this. If you're one of those rare few who said yes, great. But for most of us, it's a bit of a slog. It feels like something that we kind of have to push ourselves to do. And that goes really for any behavior that you're trying to change. Change is hard, and rewards and celebration are a way to keep us engaged and motivated. So one of the ways that we help foster celebration in the clinic is through those wins that we see on the wall. And I know sometimes people feel silly putting up a win, but I'm hoping by the end of today's discussion, you'll understand why we've incorporated those into the clinic and how they can help you stay motivated and keep moving in the right direction in terms of your health. So let's jump in to why rewards. So that change is hard, and we are pleasure-seeking beings. So we need to reward ourselves with something pleasurable if we want to sort of, like Pavlov's dog, start having our motivation drive towards a particular activity. So, you know, food, one of the first rule I will share with you is that food should not be a go-to reward for you. And unfortunately, most of us reward ourselves with food, and our relationship with food is already complicated enough because food lights up these pleasure centers in your brain and therefore sort of light up and make neuron connections going, yes, this feels good, do more of that. And then we're trying to change our the way we eat, but our biology is kind of fighting us, going, we have already laid these pathways of reward that says, yeah, you know what, when I'm stressed, I reach for something sweet, or when I'm stressed, I reach for something salty. So, you know, food is sometimes used as a reward, and it's sometimes used as a punishment. It's used as comfort. Like it's a very complex relationship. So you kind of want to break those bonds if you can, when you're coming at it in terms of a healthy lifestyle. So, think back to your childhood, and were you ever given something as a treat for being well behaved, or like a food item? If you behave, we'll get ice cream. So ice cream now may have a sort of a pattern in your head as being a way to give you something that you deserve, or feeling that you've earned it. For example, I know ice cream's a big one for me that I fight with. If there's a tub of ice cream in the freezer, help me. So rewarding ourselves with food is not a great strategy. And it's better to have our eating patterns triggered, obviously, by hunger than it is reward. So what we want to do is, if you get to a point where you're deciding to actually eat foods that are a treat, and I'm going to use treat in my air quotes, right? A food that you would consider maybe something you really enjoy, but not so healthy for you, then you should be eating them and enjoying them, knowing that there's room for those foods to be occasionally in your diet and as part of a balanced lifestyle plan. But let's not confuse them and their place in our lives by giving them the power of being a reward. So there's just far better ways that we can reward ourselves. So consider how often you're making food a reward. Listen for things like, I deserve this, I earn this, I worked out, so it's okay that I eat this. That kind of mentality can set us up for failure in the long term. So the second rule that I want to share with you is rewarding the behavior and not the outcome. And you've heard this so many times in clinic, I'm sure. When we, especially when somebody's new to the clinic, they come with a goal in mind, right? We all have a goal, whether it's to lose weight or to reduce the amount of medication that we're on, or stabilize our blood sugar levels. Everybody has these goals. And if we wait to reward ourselves till we accomplish that thing, often we just lose our motivation and we never actually reach what we were trying to do, because it just feels thankless. It just feels like a grind. And every day I'm doing the right behaviors, but I've not yet seen the outcome that I'm looking for. And we see this all the time with weight. And that's why it's so important not to reward the outcome, but those right behaviors that you're doing. So, rewards, the idea is for them to renew us and to keep us in the game, to keep us doing the things we know we should be doing, and that we know will eventually lead to the results that we're hoping for. So I always tell people when I'm working with them in clinic, the body is complex, and the only thing that you are in charge of is your actions or your behaviors, right? Your body's going to decide when it's going to change this and do that. And though we like to think that it's sort of, I do this, the body does that, it's not that clear cut of a relationship. So sometimes we need to continuing with those positive behaviors, and it doesn't come as fast as we would like. I see that all the time in clinic when somebody goes, my husband started exercising and everything fell into place for him, but I don't understand why. I've been exercising just as long, just as hard, and it's not all falling into place for me. The same behaviors don't necessarily lead to the same outcomes at the same speed for each person. We are individuals. So make sure that you're rewarding your behaviors. So in the little circles in the clinic, those win circles, you do see ones up there. I lost 50 pounds. That's great. It's great to celebrate that. But there has to be a lot of celebration along the way to that 50 pounds. One of the circles that I always talk about because I loved it, is one of the gentlemen in clinic once wrote French fry free. And he was just celebrating that he didn't have French fries that particular day. And this was something that he was having all the time at lunch. At work, he would pick up fast food, and French fries would be one of them. French fry free was his circle, celebrating even that on the way to, let's say, losing that weight or making drastic changes to your diet. Those small celebrations light up that reward system in your brain. And we've been talking about that in clinic earlier this week, that we click on these hormonal pathways in our brains that trigger and go, oh, I feel good about that. And when we feel good about something, we want to repeat it. So when you're exercising in clinic, I know we've given the suggestion this week, before you, I think I want to put a bell in the clinic, so you can ring a bell and feel really good about it before you leave. I see it at a Mexican restaurant locally, and I think we should ring a bell while we leave the clinic. But it could be a fist pump. It could be something that you say to yourself or that you say to somebody else. For some people, it is the high five, though we're air high-fiving lately for the last 2 years in clinic. Something that kind of lights up that center in your brain that goes, I did well. And that sense of accomplishment will help you keep at it, even when things get a little bit more difficult. So make sure you're celebrating all the good behaviors. And it might seem silly to give yourself that pat on the back or go, you killed it, or something like that. But they've shown that even a little word, a little gesture to yourself can make a big difference in how motivated you are to continue on with the behavior when you're waiting to see results. So my next tip is reward in the here and now. And it goes a little bit with the last one. Don't wait forever. Do it now. That fist pump right away. Rewards work best when they're closely coupled with the behavior that they're trying to influence. So, if you say, well, if I exercise all week, I will allow myself to do something special on the weekend. That's actually pretty far removed, even though it's only 7 days. You want something that will right away grab you. So, that's why we see people who might exercise and listen to good music, and the music gets them going, and then it becomes something they enjoy. I used this with my husband recently and coupled listening to audiobooks with his commute. He can't get away from the commute, but the audiobook makes it more enjoyable. It's the reward he gets for sitting through that traffic. So again, those immediate rewards are going to elevate your mood, elevate your brain, and allow your brain to recognize those new behaviors that you're doing as something positive. So really, really important. If you think about our negative behaviors, things like smoking, drinking, and like I'll use the word negative, or less healthy, let's say, behaviors like smoking or drinking or eating those sweet or overindulgent foods that we know are sort of not as healthy for us. Those things bring us immediate rewards, and that's what can make them so addictive, right? That right away we're rewarded for having consumed them or participated in the behavior. So we want to reverse that and use it to reinforce your healthy habits, like eating healthy foods, exercising, doing your stress management, getting a full night's sleep, those sorts of things. How can you reward those behaviors? Because in and of themselves, they might not give you enough of a boost to make them worth sticking with. Does that make sense? All right. Make it meaningful to you. And that is where it's different for everybody, right? So the more meaningful your rewards, the more powerful they're going to be. So, take some time to think about how it is that you could reward yourself. A new pair of running shoes, for example, I hear that one a lot. I'm going to get myself a new outfit or a new pair of running shoes if I do XYZ. And though that might be nice and it might be useful, it may not be a powerful motivator for you. So don't think about things you should do or should buy, but what's really going to be meaningful for you. And the most meaningful rewards often line up with something you value and enjoy. So a real push, you got to be having fun when you're exercising, right? That's why one of our core values at Live Well is find the joy. I know that people tell me all the time, but I hate exercise, Tasha. That's okay. But if we can find some fun, some other way, by chatting with your members, other members in the clinic, by listening to good music, by chit-chatting and having sort of a community around you, that can make it a little bit more meaningful and rewarding. So though you might not love exercise, you'll show up and you'll get it done. So, I use the example a lot of taking a walk, could be rewarded by catching up with a friend during that walk. If you're bringing a healthy bagged lunch to work, you could be rewarded by actually taking the time to have a proper lunch break and not just wolfing it down at your desk, for example. So be creative and think about what's actually meaningful to you when you're choosing those rewards. So those are my tips for rewarding yourself. I encourage you to think about it. How did you reward yourself for your exercise session this week? And if you're not rewarding yourself, how could you? How could you not use food in order to make yourself feel good about your efforts? The better you are feeling, the more likely you are to continue on the behavior, even if that behavior was difficult. So somebody might have a really hard workout. It feels hard in the moment, but that sense of accomplishment at the end is what brings them back next time. So really, really important to think about what you're doing to celebrate yourself. I need a commitment from everybody who is on this right now and who is going to listen to it on a replay that at least once a week over the next month, you are going to put up a win on that mirror, celebrating something that you are proud of, that you feel you have done well, and that you feel needs to be celebrated about your efforts. It doesn't have to be big, and it does not matter if you think it's insignificant to somebody else. This is about wiring your brain to recognize your accomplishments, to feel good about them, so you continue on in the future. So those are my tips for rewarding yourself and helping you live well. I wish you sweat and smiles all week long. And we will, I forgot to say, Sarah and I will be taking a little break going into the holidays from Sara and Tasha Live. We are going to be back in mid-January, so keep your eyes open on your email. We'll send out an exact date, and maybe we'll have a little bit of a different format for the new year. New Year's a nice time to try something new. So thank you for joining me. If you're on live, stick around if you have questions, and we can all unmute for Q&A. Thanks, everyone.